Happy Friday, Notre Dame fans. Mike Singer from blueandgold.com here. Before we dive into this week's recruiting wrap, I want to make sure you guys are aware of the Loose Emoji Memorial Scholarship. We have full details at blueandgold.com about how you can give and donate to this scholarship. Also, we'll leave the link in the description of this video. Go ahead and hit the thumbs up button on this video. Really appreciate you guys supporting our channel here at blueandgold.com. So in last week's video, we talked about the NCAA lifting the dead period on June 1st. So Notre Dame's going to have some huge recruiting weekends. You can get all the scoop on who's going to come in and kind of the thoughts on those guys over at blueandgold.com. Definitely wanted to talk about Rivals 100 linebacker Jalen Sneed from Hilton Head, South Carolina. Actually, after I just finished recording last week's recruiting wrap, learned from a source that Sneed had locked in his Notre Dame official visit. He's actually going to be on Notre Dame's campus for a midweek visit. June 14th to the 16th is what I'm told. I've got a future cast pick in for Notre Dame to land Sneed. This is a prospect who Marcus Freeman offered really early after he was hired as the Irish's defensive coordinator. I believe it was within a week of him being named defensive coordinator. He offered Sneed, and he has a great relationship with Jalen Sneed and Sneed's high school coach. Their connection goes back a long time. Oklahoma, Oregon, Tennessee, some of the other schools going after Jalen Sneed, but I really like where Notre Dame is at in this recruitment. He's going to take his official visit to Notre Dame. He's probably going to see some other schools, but again, I think that combination of athletics and academics is going to put Notre Dame over the top for Jalen Sneed. I don't know if this visit is 1,000% locked in at this point, but one of the nation's best cornerback recruits and a guy we've talked a lot about in these YouTube videos is Amari Rodgers from Mississippi. Number 47 player overall nationally, number 6 corner in the country, and the number 2 player in his home state of Mississippi. He's going to be visiting Notre Dame that same time as Jalen Sneed, June 14th to the 16th. Also, defensive end commit Tyson Ford is going to be on campus at that point as well. As far as where Notre Dame's at in Amari Rodgers' recruitment, I know he was committed to LSU for over a year. You see the future cast picks in. People think he's going to land at Ole Miss. I know Miami's also a factor. Mississippi State is after Amari Rodgers. These June official visits are going to be big for Amari Rodgers. I believe Tennessee is also in hot pursuit of Amari Rodgers. But he has a strong relationship with Marcus Freeman and Mike Mickens. If Notre Dame, wants to continue to push closer to beating the Alabamas and the Clemsons of the world on the big stages, landing a guy like Amari Rodgers is going to help them a long way. Interesting new offer that Notre Dame sent out this week at the receiver position. 6'4", 195-pound receiver Joseph Griffin, currently a Boston College commitment. He gave a pledge to the Eagles last October, Springfield, Massachusetts Central High School. Really interesting prospect, guys. This is someone who Notre Dame had been looking at for a while, evaluating him, but he did not have a fall season in 2020. So we have some clips up here, and the thing about this highlights little clip we're watching here, this is just one game. This was his first game of this spring season and had a couple of touchdowns and looked really good. So Notre Dame is targeting a lot of big, long receivers in this 2022 class. You got guys like Andre Green and Tobias Merriweather, and C.J. Williams on the top of the board. And then they're offering a guy like Joseph Griffin, and another big receiver, and a talented one. I like this offer by Notre Dame. Look, if they're going to like a guy and they want to go after him, I'm not going to fault the coaching staff. He's ranked as a 3-star, doesn't even have a picture on his Rivals page just yet. But he has impressed the Notre Dame coaching staff this spring early on, just through a couple games, and I think that has to speak to a lot. Now on the screen, we're going to be watching Notre Dame cornerback commit Jaden Mickey. Listed at 6 foot. I'm not 100% sure if that's accurate. I mean, honestly, he looks a little bit smaller than 6 foot, maybe 5'11". But he looked to have a really nice junior season, limited junior season. Only played in 4 games, but you see him punt returning. And he looked to. I mean, when he committed, we talked a lot about how he's kind of this technician that cornerback, his dad was a collegiate player. Like, this young man was trained very well, and it's evident. He didn't get thrown at a lot this season, but when the ball did come his way, he was a ball player. Tracking skills, his footwork's great, flips his hips really well. I think this is a really solid get for Notre Dame, and he continued to build off of what his sophomore season was with a strong junior season at Corona Centennial in Southern California. Jaden Mickey, 4-star cornerback pledge for the Fighting Irish. His stock is only going to continue to rise from here. Shortened season again this spring. Once we get into the fall, I think we're going to learn even more about Jaden Mickey. And he's a guy that I think Notre Dame fans should be really excited about. The lone DB commit in the class so far, and was a really good start to that group for Notre Dame. And how about this Aiden Gobyra guy? Let's watch the Notre Dame defensive end commits spring junior season at Chantilly High in the DMV area. Man, this kid is stinking impressive. His sophomore season, he was really just playing off of his length and just overall motor. He was like a $195 soaking wet and didn't really have a lot of pass rush moves. Well, you see him here, and albeit it's not the strongest competition that he's playing, in the Washington, D.C. area in Virginia. But, I mean, he just looks like a man amongst boys. I mean, he is a stud. I mean, he's gotten a lot bigger. He's put on 40 pounds since the 2019 season. And he's also got, look at that move off the ball. I mean, that's impressive burst and use of his hands. And then when he gets to the quarterback, he is a violent tackler. And you see a lot of him going after the football. I mean, he's double teamed, and it still doesn't really matter. I mean, Aiden Gobyra is a bona fide stud. I know other places have bumped his ranking up as a big-time 4-star prospect. Rival still has him as a high 3. Just look at that play. He is someone that I think is just going to shoot up all of these rankings. That is going to do it for this week's recruiting wrap, and make sure you stay locked into blueandgold.com for all of your Notre Dame football and recruiting coverage, and make sure you check out that Lou Smoji Memorial Scholarship to donate to a great cause.